Dogum, and welcome to VibeCast. VibeCast is Vibe Bio's weekly podcast where we explore some of the hottest topics in drug development, investment strategies, and technology innovation. Today's special guest is Max Shapiro. Max founded PeopleConnect, which is an organization that helps connect life sciences companies and startups with executives and other professionals. And I'll allow Max to explain his background a little bit more in detail and what he's been working on. Hey, Max, how you doing?
Great, Ray. How are you?
I'm great. I'm really excited for this conversation with you, and thankful for you for being here. So we can get started, maybe giving the audience and community a bit of background about your career.
Sure. I am a serial entrepreneur. I did many different things in my work life. Started out actually scouting in the NBA. I was the youngest chief scout in the NBA. Scouted for the San Diego Rockets back in the late 60s and early 70s for the Phoenix Suns, and ran basketball camps with the likes of John Wooden and Magic Johnson, Pat Riley, a number of other luminaries, and was involved in putting on baseball fantasy camps in partnerships with the San Francisco Giants and New York Yankees, Los Angeles Dodgers, and others. Was also involved in a crazy little business, which the big sign behind me is an illustration of. We were buying and selling 10,000 to 20,000 pairs of used Levi's a month. So this is an old Levi's banner. And then in 1999, a friend of mine said, you'd be good in recruiting. And I started PeopleConnect in late 99. So this month, actually, we are starting our 25th year, helping early stage startups build great teams. And we do it in a really unique way. And I say we're the most unique recruiting firm in the world, which is a pretty audacious statement, but I think I can back it up because to the best of my knowledge, I don't know any recruiting firm that will fill any position for any type of tech company at any level anywhere in the United States. So let me give you a real quick example. A few years ago, we picked up some searches for a cannabis company in Boulder, Colorado. They were trying to close their A round. In order to do that, they needed a COO, a VP of sales, and an accountant. So we're talking C-suite, VP, individual contributor. We filled all three roles, even though we had not done any work in the cannabis space before. So whatever the position, for a life science company, it might be a CMO, but a CMO for a life science company could be a chief medical officer as well as a chief marketing officer. But it doesn't just have to be at the C level. If someone needs a VP of sales, we can help, or if they need a sales development rep, an SDR, making 50 to 75 outbound calls a day, we fill positions like that, as well as chief scientist and chief technology officer and VP director, you name it, we do it. And I love doing that. And in addition, 10 years ago, I started a company called PitchForce, which is still going strong. For the first 7 years, we're doing weekly pitch events alternating between San Francisco and Silicon Valley, where we're based. And of course, the last 3 years since COVID, we've been doing those online. 1 week is for life science companies only. And those life science companies, any type of life science company, may be raising its seed round or its A round because our panelists are split between venture capitalists and angels. So that's what we do. And love doing it.
Right. And for 25 years, right? So you have a lot of experience with this. You've probably seen so many different types of pitches and entrepreneurs and investors as well. So you've really had a wide breadth of potential companies that have came through your pitch force and other aspects of your company. So what's changed? What do you think has been the most important changes in terms of technology, the people? What did COVID do to your business? I'm just very curious how your business might have morphed over the years.
Yeah, well, let's start with the most recent. COVID has made a huge difference because before COVID, I would say maybe 15 or 20% of the startup CEOs we dealt with would be okay with virtual workers. And then since COVID, it's like 95% say, yeah, I'm okay with it. And maybe half of those say, I can't believe I'm really saying this, but yeah, the person doesn't need to be in our office. They can work from home or wherever they want to be. So that, COVID has had a huge impact there in the workforce and people being able to work wherever they want. There are clearly drawbacks to it, but it seems to be working for most people. Other changes, we got in this business the end of '99, again, based in San Francisco. The high tech, the .com boom was going on. And then the dot-com bust came, and that changed the world for, for anybody involved in high tech, especially for recruiters, because companies weren't recruiting, and we couldn't find companies to pay us our fees. So I've been a member of an organization called the Keiretsu Forum, which is the world's largest angel organization. And back then, companies were coming and they were looking for, let's say, $1 million. We say, what's the use of the proceeds? And they would say, well, our software isn't done. We need some more developers. Or our software is done. We need some salespeople. And we said, that's great. If you had those people on board, we'd be more likely to invest. And they said, hello? Why do you think we're here? How are we going to hire these people without money? And luckily, a light bulb went off for me. And I said, there's a whole bunch of people that are home, depressed, bored, tired of being an extension of their wife's honey-do list. Maybe some of them would work for 3 months or 6 months without a paycheck. And that's when we created what we call employees without paychecks. So we were able to find people who, for the first 3 or 6 months, for a company that they thought and we thought had a good chance of getting funded during that time, they would work for options only. And then once the company got its funding, then they went on the payroll. That was about 5 to 10% of our business up until COVID. Once COVID hit, then the world changed as far as employer-employee relationships and what people are looking for. And we have not been able to find people to work without a paycheck since COVID. There are startup companies that say, hey, we got this great technology, but I've never run a business. Find us a CEO who will work without a paycheck. And I tell them, we can find you a CEO, but you're going to have to pay him or her, $10,000 a month, $120,000 a year, which is not what they should be getting. But then it's on them to go out and raise the money so they can increase their salary. So that's a huge change. And of course, with the crash of 08, 09, the real estate crisis, that changed the landscape as well. But we recovered from that. And 2021 was a fantastic year for anybody in tech, which it was for us. 2022 wasn't too bad, but 2023 was a slow year. Glad to use the past tense, because it seems like things are picking up, even though we're just in late January now.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot about this year being very positive in many ways. So looking forward to seeing some of that action this year, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing how you mentioned that right now no one really would work for no pay or just options. It's just not in their minds at all to do that. And that's fair. I think there is an expectation now from employees and these executives to upfront get paid for what they're worth, for their time.
Yep.
And are you seeing any innovations with artificial intelligence? Like some of the companies that come to you using AI, do you feel like a lot of these jobs that were so important 5, 10 years ago are suddenly being augmented, at least by AI? And what is your thought there?
We're not experiencing that yet. I mean, we're certainly aware of it. We know it's going on, and it will continue to. I read several months ago about someone who was a copywriter, and all the copy was being written now by ChatGPT, and this person went from a copywriter with a nice salary to a dog walker. So there's going to be a lot of changes like that. I'm a half full glass kind of guy, so I think the innovation is going to be outstanding, and hopefully the potential negatives won't be too bad. But the changes we're going to go through are just going to be incredible in the next 20 or 30 years because of AI.
Yeah, I'm with you right there. And I think, a lot of companies that we're seeing at Vibe, because, we work with a lot of biotech startups and companies, and a lot of the individuals and founders that we talk to, either they have a small team, they're developing a larger team, or they're trying to hire people. It's kind of on an ongoing basis, of course. But the emphasis on how important good people are, especially early on in a company's life, is critical. Do you provide additional services or advising for these companies along with the person that might be getting hired? So how does that work? How does the transition work? You find someone?
Yeah. In terms of what we provide, we're really providing two things. We're helping early stage life science and non-life science startups get funding, which is a challenge. And then once that's over, then they've got another challenge, which is hiring great people. We can't build a great company without great people. A pretty simplistic statement, but it's true. If you settle and end up with B players instead of A players, you're not going to have a great company. And for our clients, we're usually placing two or three key execs. These are companies just got their seed round or their A round. So we're not involved with once a person is placed, then anything that goes on after our placement. We're obviously there to help the companies if there are any issues. We guarantee our candidates if anything isn't working on either side in the first 3 months, we replace them at no cost. But we're not really involved in the operation of the companies once somebody starts there.
Got it. And can you give me some examples of some of the companies you have helped? I know you mentioned the cannabis company earlier. Are there some maybe traditional life science biotech companies might have a one or two drugs in the pipeline? They're looking for investors. They really believe in these programs. And then
Sure. Just in terms of placements, we recently placed a CFO at a medical device company. We just placed a CEO at a company with technology that came out of the University of California, Berkeley, Cal. And this was a professor in the engineering department who's got a liquid glue solution to be used in certain types of operations where sutures have a hard time staying together.
Mhm.
And so they wanted a CEO, and this was a situation where they wanted to get a CEO that would work for equity. And I said, we can't do that, but if you can afford $120,000 for the first year, we can find you somebody great, and we did. And they're excited about on both sides. The new CEO is excited about the fundraising and what their process they're going through. He's been through that before, and the founder of the business, who's a professor, has no experience with a startup, and so they've got a great symbiotic relationship, and they're just getting started. But we place chief science officers for other types of companies, and with our with PitchForce, we're seeing a lot of different companies. One of the things we're seeing with companies is valuations are down, and sometimes valuations are too high. And I'll give you an example. When a company at PitchForce came two or three times over a 4-month period, they wanted to have another crack at meeting new investors because we have 6 investors at every one of our life science PitchForces, and they get rotated in and out. And this company has technology that'll get people off opioids, which we know is a huge problem. Here in San Francisco, over 800 people last year died on the streets from fentanyl overdoses. And great team, big market, really have really good technology. And their challenge was that their pre-money valuation was too high. They thought their company was worth $20 million, and investors were saying it's too much. And so the CEO contacted me after his last pitch at PitchForce, and he said, I realize our pre-money is too high. If we don't raise any money, we can't grow our business. So what do you think it should be? And I said, I can give you a number, but why don't you talk to the investors that just heard your pitch last night and talk to others and let me know where you end up. And he called me about a week later, and he said, we've lowered our pre-money from 20 million to 10 million. And he said, because we need this $3 million to grow the business, and it really isn't going to make that much difference whether we get investors at 20 or at 10. But what will make a difference is whether or not we get the money to stay in business. And in the 2 months since they pitched, they're at 2.7 of the $3 million raised. And so, entrepreneurs have to be flexible, and they've got to realize where the market is today. We just had somebody from Transylvania, of all places. We talked to them, and they've got an idea, not a life science company, but a little device, and they don't even have a product out, and they're raising 1.2 million. And I said, what's your pre-money valuation? They said $25 million. You guys don't have a chance, and you don't know what you don't know yet. So we've got a resource guide that we sent them. Included on that is a link to a book that I wrote, an ebook that was it's 20 questions that investors want answered before they'll invest in your startup. So we provide services like that. We're trying to help these startups get funding, and when they get funded, many of them come to us to help them build a great team.
That's awesome. And it's really cool that your investor network and community is so willing to assist and help and kind of support these companies. I know our
Yes.
CEO, Alok, was a member of that panel like a couple months ago in December, actually.
Right.
So it's really great to see that there are different voices coming through there.
Yeah, he did a great job, by the way. We got to get him back.
Awesome. It's good to hear. What are some of the funding trends that you're seeing? You've noticed that last year was sort of a slow year. Can you share some insights or context into how 2024 is going so far?
Yeah, it's looking good so far. We're still telling companies, how much you're going to raise, and they say, well, $5 million, but they're really early. And I say, let me ask you a question. What could you do with $1 million? How long would that last you? What milestones might you hit over 6 months or 9 months? It's going to be a lot easier to get that $1 million now than it will be to get 5 because you're not very far along. And then what will happen is once you've hit the milestones, then you can come out and do a bigger round at a higher valuation. So we're seeing a lot of that. We're seeing companies adjusting their valuations, but there are companies that pitch with us and companies that are clients of ours that were raising more money that are getting very close to closing. 2 of them are close to closing $10 million fundings. So that's a good sign. The fact that the economy's up and confidence is up, inflation looks like it's under control. Those are all good signs.
Some good tips for entrepreneurs there, but do you have some tips for investors themselves, maybe while they look for different types of companies they might be interested in? Are there any like red flags that they should be really concerned about?
Sure. I mean, what's really important, and we ask the panelists at the start of each pitch force, what's the most important thing for you when you decide to make an investment? And a lot of them say team, and it's not self-serving because we're in the people business, but I've heard a lot of investors say you can take a great founder and a great team and give them a mediocre idea. They can turn something into it. And if you've got a great idea, great concept, big market, but you don't have the people to pull it off, you're not going to be successful. So I think team is important. I think for investors, they need to realize that it's going to be a long-term relationship, and for the entrepreneurs to realize that and make sure when they're taking money from an investor, whether it's an angel or a VC, that they really know and like those people because they're going to be spending a lot of time with them. I often hear very early stage entrepreneurs say we've got 4 VCs that are interested, and 2 things there. One is that most of them are too early for VCs. And the VCs aren't going to tell them this is really a stupid idea. You're wasting your time, because it very, very rarely is. And if it is, they're probably not going to tell them that. And they've got the entrepreneurs, the investors, the VCs especially have the fear of missing out. But on another way of talking about it is sometimes I hear companies say we've got term sheets from 2 or 3 VCs, and I say that's great, and they're doing their due diligence. I say that's good. What kind of due diligence are you doing on them? And they say, oh, I didn't think about that. Well, you better. You better make sure that the people you're taking money from have treated other people at other companies they've invested in, they treated them well. And that's easy enough to find out and ask them for references, but also to look up and see companies that they've invested in and reach out to some of the ones that the VC may not have given you, just to get a sense of how they treat the entrepreneurs and the startups in their portfolio.
Interesting. Yeah, I know due diligence, both on the entrepreneur and investor side, are really, really critical for long-term success. So I'm with you there. Have you seen some innovations around due diligence in terms of how it's conducted? Maybe, because I know right now, if you're applying for a job, you create a resume. At some point, especially if it's a larger company, that resume is going through some AI detection application to kind of filter out which applicants make the most sense. So the one question is, is PeopleConnect using an AI to filter out candidates? And then are you using something for the due diligence as well?
Yeah, I haven't seen it to the second part. I haven't seen anything yet using AI for due diligence. I'm sure there are people working on it now. And for the candidates, we're not using a lot of AI. What we do when we take on a search is we put together a list of about 150 candidates per position, which is like, people say, how in the hell do you come up with that many people? And we do some old-fashioned stuff. We do old-fashioned headhunting, which is what recruiters used to have to do before the internet. So we're going to reach out to people working at companies that have been identified by our clients and that we've identified as places where these people might live, and we'll see what kind of interest they might have in the opportunity we've got for them. Number 2 is we've got over 80,000 resumes in our database because, as I said earlier, this is our 25th year in business. And then we're anywhere and everywhere on the internet. So, a lot of companies that choose to work on their own and not pay a recruiter will put one posting on LinkedIn or Indeed or something we're on 135 different job boards and discussion groups. So we come up with a great list of candidates. We interview 20, and we get our clients at least 3 well-qualified people within 4 weeks. But we're looking at some possibilities of using. I just was looking at something today where we might reach out. Somebody had reached out to us, and we might respond back to them about using AI to find candidates, find qualified candidates, and so that's certainly happening. There's a lot of potential technology being worked on for the recruiting space, as we speak.
Very cool. Yeah, and I'm sure that'll evolve over time. Probably not really that great now, but over time it will be. That's what I think, right?
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree totally.
Um,
Yeah.
we're about to wrap up here, but I do have a final question. I'm wondering, what kind of partnerships are you currently looking for? In addition to investors and startups, are there other sorts of companies that you find to be important in the ecosystem?
Yeah, we're working with with companies that are helping startups get funded. So there's a number of companies. There's a company called Peach Score. There's a company called Seed Scout that provide really inexpensive ways for entrepreneurs to be in touch with investors. There's a company called ThinkFish, which puts people in touch with 25 investors over a 3-month period. Another company called 10 Capital that does the same thing. So there are other opportunities there, and we're when a company goes through PitchForce, whether they have a lot of interest from the investors or they don't, we're following up and having conversations with them and suggesting places they can go where we know investors live. And there are a lot of investors out there looking for deals. We have 5 or 6 investors on a PitchForce, as you know, every week. And one of my friends said to me, "Well, how much money do you pay those guys and gals?" And I said, "We don't pay them anything. Everybody's out looking for a good company to invest in." So there's still a lot of that. It's happening. And I'm a member of the Keiretsu Forum. I heard pitches today from 4 companies, 2 of whom had been at PitchForce before and did well enough to go up to the big leagues, you might say, and pitch at Keiretsu Forum and did very well. So it's exciting to see everything that's going on in life science and so many different ways. And I was a member of Life Science Angels this past year. I just joined about a year ago, and just to see all the interesting technology coming through there. And the thing about life science is, for the entrepreneurs and the investors, you can do well and do good at the same time. You're extending people's lives, you're improving the quality of their life, which is a lot more rewarding than a company that, hey, we got this great idea. You're going to save 15 seconds switching between Instagram and TikTok. It's like, really? Is there really a market for that? And more importantly, like, what kind of good does it do?
That's fair. And I did watch a few of the videos after the fact of the pitch forces for life sciences. Really entertaining as well as informational.
Yes.
I think the way I see it is, it's sort of like a Shark Tank for life sciences companies.
Yeah, but it's kinder. I mean, all the investors have been on the other side of the table, so they're direct, they're honest, they're critical, but at the same time they're kind.
They're all kind, yeah.
Yeah, and if somebody isn't kind, you're not seeing them again, because we've got a whole bunch of people we choose from to choose our 5 or 6 every week.
That's fair. I appreciate that. Well, is there anything else you'd like to share? And just to mention, as you know, Vibe Bio also looks for companies to invest in as well. But like you said, there are so many investors out there and there are so many companies out there. It's just a matter of finding the right investors with the right individuals who believe in the same or similar future, I guess you can call it.
Yeah. I mean, I think the last thing I would say is it's just exciting to be involved in the startup world. So in April, I'll turn 81, and I'm working about a 50 or 60 hour week, but it doesn't feel like work. Talking to you isn't work. Talking to these startups isn't work. Helping them get funding, helping them build great teams. It's fun. It's exciting. I got a lot of friends my age who are retired, some of whom have flunked retirement. Oh, this is great. I sold my business. I'm going to play golf 4 days a week. And then after a while, they want to get back in the game somehow. So I'm not planning to stop working any time in the near future. Maybe cutting back a little bit, but I'm having too much fun in working with great people, on our team, and meeting people like you, like we did at the Boston Venture Summit in December. It's all good.
Likewise, yeah, I think you've obviously become a big mentor for a lot of these companies as well. So thank you for all the work that you've done for the community and for the startup community, the entrepreneurship community. Keep it going, 81. That's awesome to hear that, and looking forward to continuing this collaboration with you. And if there's anything else you want to share with the audience, when's your next PitchForce? Maybe that'll be nice to know.
Yeah, our next Life Science Pitch Force is Thursday.
Okay.
On February 1st, and the one after that is February 21st. And if anybody wants to listen to a Pitch Force, they don't have to sign up and wait for one of those dates. All you have to do is go to the Pitch Force website, which is pitch-force.com. Scroll down to the bottom of the page. There are links to all of the past Life Science Pitch Forces. Just click on one. All of a sudden, the video will start. You spend a half hour, 45 minutes, on your time, sort of like Netflix. And you'll see what it's like, and see if it's if as an entrepreneur you're interested in presenting, or we've got investors contacting us wanting to sit in on our panels as well.
That's awesome, fantastic. Thank you, Max. Really appreciate your time. This might get published after the 1st of February, so look for the February 21st one if you're listening.
Wonderful. All right, great. Thanks, Ray. It's been a pleasure.
Likewise.